Donkey Kong Bananza. I'm sure you've heard of it. The Switch 2's first single-player exclusive and the first Donkey Kong game in the last decade, that being Retro Studios' Tropical Freeze. It's hard to top a game with both penguins and funky mode, but DK Bananza and the team behind 3D Mario sets out to prove me wrong. In what is, my opinion, one of the greatest 3D platformers ever made. A game that meets the quality of the Donkey Kong platformers before it, Rare's original SNES trilogy, Kiddy Kong notwithstanding, the 10th Circle of Hell, and yes, that is a compliment, Donkey Kong Jungle Beat My Meat, and Retro Duology, originally in development for the Switch 1, just like Mario Kart World, needing the upgrades so the console planet doesn't become a bomb, revealed at the end of the Switch 2 Direct. Everyone expected a Mario 3D platformer, but as per usual, no one ever expects the monkey. A new Donkey Kong 3D platformer with the hook of exploring fully destructible environments with a big, strong monkey that could punch, smash, rip and tear and blow up nearly everything around him, and the game wastes no time breaking you into it. We start at Ingot Isle, where our main monkey Donkey Kong and a team of prospector monkeys set out on a mining expedition to look for this strange banana-like energy called Bananagy, that forms into a solid called Banandium, crystallizing into large golden banana-shaped gems called Banandium gems. Pay attention, there's a test on this. Much to Donkey Kong's delight, their prospecting journey shows to be fruitful. But not soon afterwards, finding a handful of Banandium gems, their expedition is interrupted by the arrival of the Void Company, the largest mining organization in the world, also after the Banandium gems. With the help of a big-ass meteor and magic, they steal all the Banandium gems found by DK's team, raise an undead army of skeletons that look like Kremlins for absolutely no reason at all, and push Ingot Isle underground. After regaining consciousness, DK rescues a few of the prospector monkeys.
No need to panic. There's every reason to panic!
And explores further underground and finds a strange purple rock that fell from above. After pulling it out and comforting it, the fella named Oddrock decides to join DK, whether he likes it or not, using its odd voice to progress further into the mines by dispelling the seals left by Voidco, and giving chase to them down this big hole. The duo find themselves in the lagoon lair and meet the Kong Elder, a retired salvager, now DJ, who cures the Oddrock of the seal on him, or rather, on her, for it is revealed that Oddrock was a young girl named Pauline. Just don't think about it, okay? Life's too short to think about Mario lore. The Elder then bestows his Bananza onto DK. With the power of Pauline singing, he can now go Bananza and transform into Super Saiyan 4, except this is actually cool. Now free, Pauline asks the Elder how to get back home to the surface, and DK just wants bananas. The Elder explains that the only way to reach up to the surface again is to journey deeper into the planet, reaching the core, fabled to grant anyone who reaches it a wish. Looking like there's no other way except maybe climbing out via Ingot Isle, but we need the game to happen. DK and Pauline set out to do just that, meeting Voidco at the end of the lair, revealing thereafter the wish at the core as well. The duo go after them and face whatever obstacle Voidco or the planet itself throws at them. And the story doesn't really go much beyond that. There's some character development with Pauline learning to be more confident in her singing, but other than that, it's just like Mario. Where the story is simple for most of the ride, you get to a new location, speak to the locals, and learn more about the place and the problems they're facing, mostly brought on by Voidco and whatever contraption he's unleashed upon the land. DK and Pauline use the solution to all problems, violence, and help the locals with their problems. Repeat for about a dozen or so layers, and then you overdose on potassium. But it's about the journey, not the destination. And on that journey, you come across vast and bizarre places that make less and less sense the more you think about how they're down here so far underground with light, foliage, and intelligent life like these Fractone guys with insane regeneration abilities, who are, until proven otherwise, immortal and can't feel pain. Other animals like zebras who talk like surfers even though it's basically winter down here. Ostriches that can fly, so what are these guys' excuses? Must be the deadly grape juice. A land where it's always storming with elephants who just couldn't give a shit, obviously, since they can snort fucking lava up their trunks. Holy shit. A race course with Dixie and Diddy as hosts, hiding from the allegations. Modern social media sites. A place with snakes and 2 suns. 2! And somehow, this is my favorite level. It's the light switching puzzles for me. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. It reminds me a lot of Zelda, which reminds me of Link, and Link makes me horny. In a giant amusement park with an infestation problem, all with somehow enough oxygen where DK and Pauline can breathe down here with no problems, but who cares? They're all a joy to explore, manage to sell the world you're in very well, and constantly gives you dopamine hits from destroying them with your wide array of moves. Upon starting the game, the first thing I do with any new game I play is get a feel for the controls and movement and look at the button alignment in the option menu. And the first thing I notice is that the jump button is originally placed on the A button, the right button, not the bottom, you Neanderthal, with Y to punch, X to punch upward, and B to punch downward. It's intuitive, but I'm a basic bitch who likes his bouncy button on the bottom. So I switch the layout and it still works like a dream. Other than that, the ZL button makes DK do his roll move, and just like previously, you can pull off the roll jump. Rolling off the ground, you can do a jump in midair with the momentum from the roll carrying you, and still do one more roll like the dive in Mario. L makes DK whistle, which may seem cute, but as someone who can't whistle to save his life and drives me mad with envy, R makes DK clap, which automatically collects the objects it reaches, as well as behave like a sonar, letting you sense gold ores or even chunks of gold. Treasure chests that pop right out of nowhere can give you anything like more gold, balloons that save you from a fall, since lives aren't a thing in this game, apple juice to revive you like a fairy in a bottle, melon juice to recharge your Bananza energy, or fossils, which there are 3 types of. The common, which are very easy to spot, the rare, which are hidden a lot more sneakily, and the really big one, which you'd think they'd be a lot easier to find given their size, but I'm not one to cave into pressure and just buy the maps for them in the shop, which is a thing you can do along with stocking up on balloons and juice. No, not for Pauline, they're for me. If she wants some juice, she can punch her own damn gold. I bought the juice with the gold I digged up, it's mine! ZR lets you tear off a chunk of the ground beneath you to throw, swing around, or use to guard against attacks. But a new technique you can perform is the turf surf. Rolling with a chunk allows DK to channel the powers of his ancestor son Wukong and ride the rock by spinning, allowing faster travel on the surface, safe or not, until the chunk breaks, which depends on the durability of the material used. Holding the throw button while holding something bigger brings up the cursor that tells you the material you're aiming at is and its durability, which is good to know before you try to use it to surf on a bed of spikes. DK is strong, but his fists have their limits. Upon entering a lair, it'll tell you the durability of the terrain. The stronger the terrain, the longer it will take to dig through the ground and walls, making it harder to get to the Bananza gems. But while the Bananza gems are the main collectible, unlike the main knickknacks in Mario games or even the golden bananas in DK64, they aren't necessary for progression. The game just asks you to head to the objective marker and tells you to handle the obstacles along the way or in the way. So then, what's the point of the Bananza gems? What's a platformer collectathon if there's no thon to collect while I platform? While you're not collecting them to unlock a sentient door that's a prick to you, they're useful to you in a way that's different but more rewarding than just a number going up. Every 5 Bananza gems you break gives you enough energy for a skill point to use in the game's skill tree. The last type of tree I'd ever thought I'd see in a DK platformer, but from here you can use that energy to make DK stronger. Things like more health, making your punches hit harder, hold more juice, a better clap, as well as more moves such as the jump shot, which effectively gives DK a double jump, which I don't have to explain how that's useful, able to actually surf with turf surf, and last and least, the spin jump. Spin DK around for a second to make him break it down in a different way while scaring the shit out of Pauline. DK, no, stop, then jump to perform the move. Unfortunately, through my entire journey throughout this game, I never ever found a use for this. The jump itself is good for vertical ascension and even functions as a makeshift glide, but a jump shot can help me reach those heights just as easily as well as faster and more efficiently. And its horizontal reach pales in comparison to a well-performed roll jump, which I don't even need to unlock to do. And it has even less potential for destroying terrain since DK will just bounce off whatever he spins into and stop spinning altogether once he lands back on the ground. So I can't even rip like a Beyblade and shred through the level. You ever own a Beyblade? Especially those metal ones? Those things are like goddamn glass tornadoes. Pauline, you're a kid. Back me up on this. With your starting power and the potential you grow into, DK and Pauline are so much fun to play as, which lends itself very well to exploration, which this rewards your curiosity for masterfully. Acrobating along and around any obstacle or using your brute sting to destroy the enemy or any wall in your way. This game is so addicting, punching through the ground and seeing gold just fly everywhere, especially when in the ground and just want to mash the buttons like when you're panicking in a fighting game. Aren't you tired of just jumping around the level like a good little jump man? Don't you want to go ape shit? And if that was all you can do, then this game would still be a masterpiece, but we're just getting started. Throughout the game, you will unlock transformations for DK achievable through Pauline singing gibberish. They're called Bananzas, coming in 5 forms. The Kong form, which is unmatched in brute strength. Even the most durable material can be punched and broken, except for whatever the fuck Neptunite is. I guess his hands can only take so much punishment. It's what you want to use when you just go apeshit and bulldoze through the level. The Zebra excels at speed. His normal movement is the fastest way of movement on the ground until you start charging and rush through everything like a missile. I just wish this form wasn't harder to look at than the DKC cartoon. Arms should not look like that, and a female monkey shouldn't look like that either. The ostrich gives you the most unaerodynamic shape there is, yet still lets you fly, or rather fall in style. This form is great for covering ground and getting over treacherous terrain, especially if you combo it with the snake, which lets you charge a super jump, which with the proper upgrade you can do again in midair, letting you get insane height and cover a lot of distance by switching back to the ostrich. It also lets you pause time for some reason. It's also the last Bananza you get, but for some reason it's the 4th option in the HUD, even though you get the elephant beforehand, which gives you super suck and clear away any terrain, including harmful substances like, to mention again, lava, as well as thorns. It would be like eating spicy chips that are really old, like glass, sharp. You can suck until you run out of breath and spit out a chunk of whatever you sucked into your trunk and throw it. You can't stay in these forms forever since they run on vanadium energy, but that is a very easy thing to refill, done by collecting gold, which is everywhere, especially underground, so unless you're in an area like the pocket rooms, you shouldn't be hurting for vanadium energy. But even so, there's the melon juice that gives you a full refill, and the game gives you enough time to use the transformation skill. There's even upgrades that give you more time, as well as keeping the pace with how the timer can restart a second or two after it depletes. You stay in that form for a brief time, giving an opportunity for Pauline to chant again and refill the bar, keeping the pace up, which is greatly appreciated. The Bananza forms function similarly to both the animal buddies from the Rare Trilogy and the buddies from the Retro Duology, as they all have their strengths and disadvantages compared to one another, excelling in scenarios some can't, but with the freedom they give the player with how they want to approach the challenges the game throws at them, especially in the later points of the game. The Bananza forms are incredibly fun in a similar sense to the Mario power-ups, further expanding your move pool and ways to destroy everything in your way, and it's all the fault of Pauline for enabling it, who I just gotta say is up there in terms of Nintendo companions. I'd argue on par with Minna and Captain. The story is about confidence, scared of everything at the start and especially singing in front of others, but thanks to DK, who just wants manners, and doesn't care who judges him for it. Over the game, the more people you meet and the more you fight Void Kong, she becomes more confident and sure of herself. Shown in every concept to obtain the Bananza forms, by the time you get to the Snake Bananza, it's not even a problem for her anymore. I wish I could stay that confident in a room of snakes. Pauline's arc really isn't all that deep, but it doesn't really need to be. It gets across what it needs to, while emphasizing her seeming and the powers of it. How Void Kong alludes to his need for her, and how her and Donkey Kong bond and help locals through music. There's a portion of the game where you and Pauline are separated, and it shows how weak you really are without her. And when you rescue her, she tells you how scared she was. They complete each other. These two were just really adorable together, honestly. Seeing them strike their multiple poses after getting a banana and doing their little dance after finishing a boss. And even how she talks or tried to with DK when you go to sleep in a hideaway. And on to DK, his design is honestly adorable. The devs said they changed his face to make him more expressive than you could get with a flesh brow. The designs go very well together, big lovable oof with precious baby. One of the most entertaining things in this game, for me, was just watching these two play around in their idle animations. You're just tickling them. Aww. And they ain't the exception to the rule. This whole game is a beauty. Every area has immaculate vibrancy with beautiful lighting that makes you forget you're hundreds of feet underground. Everything is modeled and textured wonderfully, and the frame rate is stable most of the time. The lowest it ever dipped for me was in the mid-50s, where I could just see the game having a hiccup with all the bits and chunks flying around in some of those instances where you destroy a lot of the terrain very quickly while close to the camera, or in some of the bosses where there's a lot of stuff happening. But it happens so infrequently and in such short instances, thus my lack of footage to convey this. Good thing this is a Switch 2 game, because if the Switch 1 tried to play it, this would become a nuclear bomb. But if I was stuck in the nuclear fallout, I wouldn't want to be stuck with John Denver again, so I guess this game is a good substitute. DK Bananza's soundtrack is similar to Mario Odyssey's, where it leans more into music that captures and enhances the layer's atmosphere rather than catchy tunes. Which isn't at all a bad thing or even foreign to DK, the country games did that too, more ambient pieces. Hell, the original DKC3's OST was mostly composed by Evelyn Novakovic, who gave the game a lot more harmonic vibes than what David Wise did for the other country games. Bananza's sound director, Naoto Kubo, no relation to Tai Kubo, yes I did have to look that up as soon as I saw who made this game's music in the credits, made a great balance in both directions of music, not unlike what Grant Kirkhope did with DK64, as well as perfectly fit each level and area with music that elevates the layer's history. The Radiance layer uses instruments of Arabian heritage to elevate this desert terrain of darkness that you return to light. The Racing layer gets you hyped up for a fun reunion with old friends, although the retirement was fun because now I'm here to ruin it. The Landfill layer lives up to the name but makes it feel all homey and welcoming. It may be a shithole, but it's our shithole. The Canyon layer might be my favorite. The guitar and harmonica duet captures the western aesthetic perfectly, and I hate cowboys, so let that speak for how good it is. And I'm not sure if anyone else hears it too, but the Feast layer's music sounds a lot like the Super Mario Bros. 2 USA theme. You hear it too, right? I'm not going insane. I'd be amiss not to mention the Bananza songs that play when you transform into them, each one getting their own, so there's less of a risk of getting sick of them. But I try to stay in them longer just so I can keep them going, they're that good. But it's not just the music, the rest of the sound design is superb. The sound of, well, anything getting destroyed is perfect. The crunch and crackle off everything, whether it being sand collapsing, rocks crumbling, acid dissolving, crystals forming, it just makes the game feel even better. And my biggest wish, they do the open windows. And that just makes me unreasonably happy. Like, more than it really should. It's just a dumb sound, but it makes me smile so naturally. It's like a magic depression killer. It's no wonder everybody loves this game. It's another solid 3D platformer that's fun from beginning to end. And that ending, let me tell you about it. It is absolute bananas. I've talked about everything I wanted to talk about without spoilers, but now if you haven't played this game yet and you're really looking forward to it, I'd recommend you click off now even if you probably already know, because staying away from spoilers on the internet is harder than dodging barrels in Donkey Kong while blind. That shit!
Ah, spoiler alert!
Once you reach the planet's center, you discover the Forbidden Lair, taking Jace to Void Kong now without the support of Grumpy or Poppy, abandoning them earlier in the story. You head across these floating islands of asshole fractones. That can't be much worse company than the other guy, come on. And soon you reach Void Kong and that big-ass meteor. You find the Banandium root, which looks oddly arousing, familiar. And after another boss fight, Void is down, but not out. He uses his gun to paralyze DK and the seal used on Pauline. Backed against a corner, Pauline uses her voice to free DK as well as awaken the Banandium root, as part of Void's plan. Guess he didn't know she had the lungs of a freaking Saiyan! Also, although DK is frozen, he still flexes those pecs like it's nothing. And once he's freed, I like how he's just like,
Hey, what I miss?
and now they both saved each other. What a nice moment. I feel like I'm forgetting something. I knew I recognized that belly! The king has returned, showing the true villain of the game, King K. Rool. Some time ago, before the events of the game, he and his Kremlin crew set out on a voyage to the center of the Earth in search of the Banandium root. but whatever happened to him caused him to be sealed in the Forbidden Lair in a coma, while most of his crew died, becoming fossils, combining with Banandium. But now that he's awakened and taking control of Void's tech, he continues down to the core after the real Banandium move, with DK and Pauline quickly giving chase. It's insane that the first true villain of the Switch 2 generation is King K fucking Rool. What a day and age we live in. Also, Void Kong is dead. Rest in peace, you little shit. I'll give him that he's definitely one of the best original villains for the Donkey Kong series. Retro has proven that there can be good Donkey Kong games without the Kremlings, but they just had a legacy and iconic presence that the Tikis and Snowmans couldn't top in just one game. But here in Bananza, we have the best of both worlds. And now that we've reached the true planet core, here we find the last of the surviving Kremling crew. And they even made the same sound as before. There's also the Kabooms and Claptraps, but also the Nekis and Armies, who I never thought were part of the Kremling crew since they weren't Crocs or Gators, but I guess the Snowmads weren't exclusively Arctic animals. Guess the only requirement to work for the Kremlings is hating monkeys. The planet serves as the final obstacle course, a test of the other mechanics from earlier in the game, to test how far you come while on K. Rool's trail. Once you reach him at the center, you find the biblically accurate Banana Angel. K. Rool fuses with it, somehow. His gluttony, a dark reflection of DK's love for bananas and nature brought to his extreme, manifested in K. Rool's own Bananza. And thus begins the final boss. Thanks to the planet core, you now have infinite Bananagy, but even with the added height, K. Rool still towers over you. I know it's because of Smash Bros, but I forget how big K. Rool actually is. He's only twice DK's height in the original trilogy, but grew exponentially in DK64. In this fight, he creates and bends rotten Banandium mush, harmful to the touch as well as firing cannonballs. But in no time, he's out for the count. You knock the Banandium root right out of him, and DK Pauline now have their wishes granted. The root grants them a 2-for-1 deal, pushing them up to the surface with a geyser of bananas. And King K. Rool is burning in hell. The end.
Hades?
Who's Hades? I am the Lord of the Dead! Shut up! Did you forget who you're talking to? Who cares? You are fired!
Okay, I love this game. After King KKK Rool comes back to life, he gives chase to the duo and tries to knock them off the geyser, but realizes it's futile since I stocked up on balloons, and instead goes straight for the Banandium route as our heroes arrive to the surface of New Donk City. In name only, because Pauline just calls it her city. And apparently Lanky is well known here, and even more shockingly, it's not on a watch list. But K. Rool now has the Banandium route again, and decides to reenact the ending of Sonic Adventure and floods the city and make it hell on Earth. I assume everyone on the streets quickly evacuate into the buildings in a quick and efficient manner. You give chase to K. Rool one more time in one of the hardest sequences in the campaign. Yes, I spelled that with a K. It utilizes every Bananza one last time as you fight through the last of the K. Rool's Kremling crew, before reaching him in an enormous boxing ring. K. Rool tells Donkey Kong that last time didn't fucking count cause Funky Kong was there. Now it's 1 on 2. Now it's time to really go Bananza on his ass. Now for the true final boss. He reuses a lot of his previous moves, but now they hit a lot harder, and he loves spreading Banandium mush everywhere, especially with this bomb move. Try to knock as many of them into one another as you can and use the elephant while he's not attacking. Also make sure you punch the big ball he shoots out back at him just to get more damage on him. Doing this will also trigger him to use the vacuum move, which cleans up most if not all the rot in the arena even if you interrupt it. Do this so the frame rate doesn't die during this attack. Didn't happen to me, and it's likely to be patched out sooner or later, and as long as you counter that attack, it shouldn't be a problem. And kudos to the team for actually making a challenging final boss worthy of K. Rool. It actually took me 3 tries to kick his croc ass, and that was with 7 hearts and 2 apple juices and max strength. It is an incredible finale to an incredible adventure. K. Rool is sent blasting off again, and DK Pauline saved the world. Remember K11. And while DK is willing to stay with Pauline to help achieve her dreams, Pauline tells him to chase his dream, telling him she's ready to face the challenges head-on with the newfound strength she's obtained on their journey. And after a tearful goodbye, DK makes his way back home for more bananas. A dream's a dream after all. And that was Donkey Kong Bananza. We've waited 7 years for another 3D platformer from Nintendo, 11 years for another DK platformer in general, 25 years for another 3D platformer since DK64, 1 month for a big single-player focused Switch 2 exclusive, 12 years and counting for anything Kid Icarus related. Anything, really. I'm desperate. And probably the heat death of the universe until those Epstein files are released, but now that we have the answer to almost all those problems in DK Bananza. We'll get Kid Icarus Uprising DX with mouse controls one day. But for now, we have this game, which is an absolute adrenaline-packed joyride from beginning to end. And while I won't be talking about it in this video, there was a very fun post-game, but I think the game is already incredible with what it provides in the story. The controls are tight and fun to use with the level of intuitive depth that makes any platformer a joy to play. It's a beauty to the eyes and ears with immaculately designed locations and characters, and wonderfully charming and lovable. The Switch 2 is already having an amazing first year, and it's not even done yet. Call me a Nintendo muncher if you want, but this console and this game has already justified its price and then some to me. Rare to find a game that actually proves its $70 price tag. A superb 20-hour story with tons of replayability. I've already completed the post-game and started a new challenge playthrough with no skill points. Wouldn't recommend it, it's hard as balls, but I'm still having a blast. I'd highly recommend this game. It's absolutely my game of the year. I've already told you everything I love about this game to you, and don't want to start repeating myself, so thank you so much for watching and listening to me talk about a monkey game. Goodbye, and I hope you have an amazing day.